everyone. This is really, really cool. Standing in Lily's spot and talking to you, and now I just have to take some deep breaths. I have some people with me up here, but before I tell you who they are, I want to thank my family. My family is, I have a blood family, I have a CTA family, and I have an NEA family. My husband is the best Union Thug's husband ever. His support for me is never ending, and my love for him is undying. He's at home helping take care of his mom. So, and then the rest of my family. So much support. I have my CTA family behind me. I have Eric Hines, my CTA president. Stand up. I have Teresa Montano, my CTA vice president. David Goldberg, CTA secretary treasurer. Robert Rodriguez, CTA NEA coordinating director. Sonia Martin Solis, my love. She passed CTA NEA coordinating director, friend, sister. Mike Patterson from Capital Service Center in California. When I first met him, he welcomed me like you wouldn't believe. I'm an ESP member, and he's a teacher, and he said, "What do you want me to know?" And he's been supportive ever since, 6 years ago. And then there's my Dana Dillon. She's a real best friend, true friend that I can complain to, I can yell at, I can hug her and cry with her, and she's just in my heart, and she will be forever. I have my NEA family. I have Lily, Becky, and Princess, who are so supportive of me and everything I do on the NEA board. I have my Education Support Professional Quality Department family, who have supported me to no end throughout this. Leaders for Tomorrow. If it weren't for the Leaders for Tomorrow program, I would not be standing here right now. Lisa Connor and Hazel Louts run a hell of a program. And the other person that I really need to thank is Paula Monroe. Paula Monroe was on the NEA Executive Committee, a very dear friend of mine. She's retired, living in Washington, but she is one of the favorite people I will ever know. So that's my thank yous. As you know, my name is Doreen McGuire Grigg. I'm the granddaughter of an immigrant from Japan. As Lily told you, I'm the daughter of a teacher and administrator. I'm a wife, a mom, a grandma, and a grantee. I'm a special education paraeducator. I'm a proud education support professional and union member. In 2006, CTA changed its bylaws to include ESP members, and I was called upon by then President Barbara Kerr and Paula Monroe to help advance the cause of public education and ESP members in California. I stepped up and I said yes. I live in a very rural area in Northern California, and there I helped organize my small local. In 2011, I was the first ESP member in California to be elected to a state position on the NEA Board of Directors. I represent teachers from 16 counties, and I represent all the ESP members in California. but there's more you should know about me. I work in the community I grew up in, Lakeport, California. I work in the same school I went to as a child. And so for me, work is more than work. It's my home. My students are an extension of me, of my identity. I know their families. I know their struggles. I know about the arguments they're having with their friends. I know what triumphs they're celebrating on any given day. But most of all, I know what it's like to fight for our kids. That's because, as an ESP, I'm used to being their secret weapon, the glue that helps hold the community school together. It's an honor for me to stand here today representing incredible education support professionals from around the United States like you. ESP, can I hear you out there? Is there ESP? And there's like the state ESPs of the year and the NEA White House Champions of Change school support professionals that we met 2 of them. But we all have one thing in common, and it's we strive to connect with each student to provide a healthy, safe, and fertile environment for learning. There's over 2 million of us. We're advocates and often the bridge between our communities and our schools. And as such, we are often a school community's secret weapon. We see the whole child. We notice their victories and their challenges. And it's how we respond that is important. I want to tell you about a few of the NEA ESP Champions of Change. We have dropout coordinator, Cindy Tricero Sandoval from Arizona. She's a secret weapon in her district. She's fighting the cycle of poverty by keeping students from dropping out of school and connecting students to college aid. And then there's Georgia's Jeanette Kimber. She's a substitute teacher coordinator who mentors students and helps at-risk youth through her volunteer activities with the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. She's a secret weapon changing the paths of countless young women of color. And then there's Wisconsin bus driver Ted Chardoir. He began a book sharing program on the school bus called Books on the Bus. It spread to the entire district's buses and inspired educators all over the country. He's a secret weapon contributing to student literacy and bringing his community together to support this important program. Their stories are compelling, but what makes these men and women so special is their dedication to their students and their determination to rise above all odds, ensuring the success of their students. So what does it mean to have for students to have us as their secret weapons for success? Let me tell you about special education paraeducator Nancy Burke from Massachusetts. She's sitting over here in the front. Nancy's commitment and creativity has helped her engage her students and pull the entire school community together with an accessible outdoor learning garden. Nancy attended a roundtable sponsored by the Massachusetts Teachers Association, and it was funded by NEA, about developing farm-to-school programs. After the conference, Nancy wondered how many of her students had tasted fresh vegetables or fresh fruits. She wondered if any of them had ever known the sheer delight of rolling in the grass on a warm, sunny day, or the joy of digging their hands into the soil. Some of Nancy's students have limited mobility, and some have severe disabilities that keep them from speaking or learning to read. Many come from families living in poverty. Most had never even seen or been in a garden before. So Nancy came up with the idea of a learning garden, a space that would allow her students to go outside and breathe the fresh air, see science, math, and art in action, and ultimately enjoy the fruits of their labor. Now many schools have gardens, but Nancy's garden is designed especially for students with special needs. Everything is accessible to all students, whether they're in wheelchairs or have any other special needs. To get her garden started and to keep it growing, Nancy leveraged her relationships in the school community, and she stretched every penny. Her hard work and determination has paid off. Her students are harvesting their own crops, preparing food with ingredients grown in their own school garden. So you see, she's their secret weapon for success. Because of the garden, special education students at Haverhill High are no longer those kids over there. Teenagers from all over the school. Yeah. Teenagers from all over the school, including the school's star athletes, spend time in the garden, hanging out, enjoying the outdoors, and forming new friendships. A community has developed around the garden, with everyone playing their own role. But despite everything the garden program has done to engage students and unite the school community, Nancy still hears, "You can't do something like that. You're just an ESP." Or, "You're just an aide." But you know, if she didn't act, who would? Nancy knew how much her students would benefit from the garden, so Nancy found a way to build it. And she keeps building it by writing grants, submitting proposals, asking for discounts and donations from area seed companies and hardware stores for the supplies she needs for the kids' garden. You'd think that such good work would be free of obstacles, but there is no sustainable funding for Nancy's garden program. She continues to experience resistance from other educators, but Nancy's unstoppable. I've met her, I've seen this. She dreams of a pergola for shade and smooth slate tiles so wheelchairs can glide where there's currently grass and tree roots. She will find a way. Nancy isn't just an ESP. In her students' eyes, she's a loving, caring hero. To her fellow ESP members, she's an example of the potential we all have as education professionals when we're given the respect and space to lead. Nancy's goal is to create awareness of how school gardens can change the culture of an entire school. She wants to help build accessible school gardens in every state because she's seen the difference it can make. And I just know some of you are wondering what you can do to help. So I'm glad you asked. Nancy set up a GoFundMe page to help expand the garden program. So please visit the page. There's an address on the screen, and help more students enjoy the gift of learning and gardening. So Nancy's just one person challenging perceptions and pushing the boundaries of what education support professionals are expected to contribute. But we are everywhere, and we are partners in student success. You might not all think of us this way, but we are key allies in the fight against standardized testing and institutional racism. In fact, I'd like to give a shout out to all the educators who fought against toxic testing at the local, state, and national level. I mean, we've been fighting over testing and testing and testing because of the time and resources it takes from our ability to teach, right? So because of the undue stress placed on our students. So how many of you have attended an event in the past few years to fight toxic testing? How many? Whether it's a school board meeting or a rally or a lobby day, you know who else experiences the negative impacts of over-testing on students? Education support professionals. Bus drivers see the stress or changes in behaviors of students as they board the bus on test day. Food service workers see eating habits of their students change. Paraeducators see the students they work with hang their heads in frustration, and they have to help them wipe away their tears. Custodians, maintenance, security services, and skilled trades workers see the impact too, because in many cases, they're the student's one caring adult. That's why more and more schools are adding ESPs to professional learning communities. Our ESP members have key relationships with students because we're familiar faces in the school community. We shop at the same grocery stores, we attend the same churches, and we use the same services as our students and their families. We are in many cases, our students' secret weapon for success. So are ESPs included in your school's whole student efforts? Because if not, why? Next time you're on your way to a union meeting or an event, ask an ESP to join you. Even if they're already members, asking or including an ESP can make all the difference, not only to an educator who sometimes feels invisible, but to the students we all serve. It's smart to include us in your battles because we are secret weapons and a key ingredient. ESP members doing amazing student-centered work all over the country. Work like Nancy's that needs to be supported and encouraged by other educators, not impeded. It's this exact reason, because we're so connected to our students, our families, and our communities, that we are especially important to a fight that we, as an organization, have agreed to address, the fight against the epidemic of institutional racism. So NEA President Lily Eskelsen Garcia reminds us, slavery was the original sin of our country that was founded in freedom. This great country began with slavery as an institution, and so much of the effects of slavery are still being unraveled in our public schools. This horrific foundation permitted us to not acknowledge the full humanity of the person sitting next to us. We educators are the greatest change agents in the country. Let's rise to this challenge as only we can. Thank you, Lily. That was a good quote. Institutional racism is every educator's problem because it impacts our students, and ESPs are allies in this essential work. Institutional racism is the invisible thumb impeding the success of so many of our students. How can all of our students succeed if the very system designed to educate them continues to pin them down and stand in the way of their hopes and dreams? It's a struggle all too familiar for many of my colleagues. A third of our ESP members identify as persons of color. It's of enormous benefit when ESPs are included in important discussions and professional development around identifying institutional racism, naming it, and working towards solutions that will improve the experience of everyone in the community. But our work is constantly under threat because our jobs are being targeted by private corporations who put profits before students. Please think of a moment. Recall a situation when an ESP member came to the rescue for one of your students or helped with a crisis in your school. Picture in your mind the face of that support professional. Now picture what could have happened if that ESP wasn't there. Would an outside contractor know to put an extra scoop of vegetables on the tray of a student who doesn't know when or where his next meal is coming from? Would an outside contractor stay after school to fill backpacks full of food for students to eat over the weekend? Would an outsider comfort a crying student and walk them to the office? For-profit companies are working with school boards all over the country, promising to deliver school support services for less. How much less can we get? So many of us are stretched too thin and don't even earn a living wage by working full-time for our schools. We've all read stories about the unsafe, unsanitary conditions these outsiders place our students in. It has to stop. Please help us speak out against outsourcing at school board meetings. We need teachers to be our secret weapons. We need your stories. We need your passion. And we need your numbers. We need you. If you see us picketing to fight outsourcing or for a living wage, please pick up a sign and join the line. Please help us fight privatization and ensure that every student has caring, qualified, and committed educators in their schools. ESPs support our students and schools, but ESPs need support too. We work 2 and 3 jobs so we can feed and house our own families. Many of us have been forced to make concessions to keep our jobs, like having to pay 75% of our healthcare insurance premiums, which leaves us with not enough money even to fill our gas tanks at the end of the month. We know that teachers are in the same boat, foregoing increases and making their own sacrifices. Together, let's advocate for paying all school employees a living wage. We're a team working together for students, but we must work together. We're essential partners in student success, and many of us need a tap on the shoulder to get involved. The transformation work our schools needs cannot happen without us. Many of you have heard of Dr. James Comer. Dr. Comer came to the ESP conference in March, and he discussed his groundbreaking whole school, whole student approach to school transformation. In 1968, Comer and his team went into 2 high-poverty schools in New Haven, which needed improving student achievement. There, he created an experiment aimed at turning the school around. It worked. How? He created a school planning and management team that pulled together all the adult elements, and around the schools, the parents, teachers, administrators, support professionals, all staff was included in the professional development. And Dr. Comer built on the school's values of consensus and collaboration. ESPs were an essential part of this effort, which changed the culture of the school, shifting from a controlling, punishing environment to one that supported the development of children. Sound familiar? Right now, nearly 50 years later, we're back in a similar place. So many of our schools are in control and punishment culture. We need to change that culture to one that focuses on the whole student and development of children. And we need all hands on deck to do this work. If we're to disrupt the cycle of racism and poverty in our schools, we must have everyone on board. If we're going to take back our public schools from those who benefit from test and punish systems and implement ESSA the right way, we must have everyone on board. We know our students are dealing with burdens that many of us never considered when we were children. In order to help students achieve despite those burdens, we must ensure each educator has the resources, mentoring, and support every professional needs. We know that by focusing on meeting the needs of the whole student and making sure each and every student is safe, healthy, engaged, challenged, and supported, they can overcome many of these burdens. It feels like we need a secret weapon. As NEA Secretary Treasurer Princess Moss says, we must knock down barriers of class, race, and exclusion so ESPs, teachers, everyone can stand as one to ensure a great public school for all students. Stand up, stand tall, stand out. That is the kind of passion we must bring to organizing all members of our public education family. Amazing things can happen when education support professionals are treated as equals, as partners and allies in student success. We are more than partners, we are problem solvers. We are an untapped resource, and we are here to support the whole student, the whole school, and the whole community. We are the secret weapons, but now the secret's out. For far too long, ESPs have been told to sit quietly on the sidelines, but we're there on the front lines. We are an essential cog in the school community, a machine working for student success. So let's work together in our unions and associations to take back public education from those who seek to profit from it. Let's unite to change the narrative, the negative narrative around public schools. We are all professionals working together for our students. And when we work together, we can't be stopped. Thank you, NEA.